first thing your kid should do at 5 a.m. is get up and make their bed, because that's what militant parents do. Hi, I'm Brian LaFauci.
And I'm Patrick Marino.
And welcome to the Art of Fatherhood. Today we're talking about, we're talking a little bit about making the bed. Why it's important that your kid gets up first thing in the morning and makes their bed. And if they aren't doing that, then your name's Brian LaFauci. Go ahead. You could berate me. This is a topic that I'm glad we're talking about because this act is one I believe very heavily in, and I fail at sometimes, and I fail with my kids at doing this sometimes.
The theme of our podcast is probably intentional parenting.
No, it says kids should make their bed.
I mean, like our podcast in general, the Art of Fatherhood.
Oh, yes.
We talk frequently about just being intentional, not just being a parent, not being a passive parent, not just letting things happen.
Well, putting a system and a thought behind why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah,
not
so
just
this
doing
is
it.
just,
That's just what parents do.
Yes, this is just one of those things. And I don't think it's I don't think that Brian's a bad, I clearly don't think Brian's a bad father.
Well, thank you, Patrick.
Right? But, and I don't think so there's things that.
But you are.
There's things that are important and things that are more arbitrary than others. But the idea is don't just let things happen. Have a reason why you don't do something. And I think it's perfectly reasonable to say, I don't make my kid make his bed, but my kid has other areas where he has to perform, and these are more important to me, and I'm just not going to fight that battle. I think it's only reasonable if you've thought it through. It's not reasonable if you just have no reason.
Right.
Because we want intentionality. Because like I always, there's an example I always bring up in that, like and every kid is different. Mm-hmm. My boy. And I don't remember the older boys because I wasn't in their lives when they were young. But my boy has slept in his own bed by himself almost since birth. I mean, did he crawl in our bed once in a freaking year? Mm-hmm. Yes. But we never went through there's 4 of us in the bed. Or like the parents end up in the other bedroom. Mm-hmm. Like we never did that, ever. But there's no I think even this is like scientifically proven. Like there's no scientific basis for that. Like your kid has to sleep in his own bed. Otherwise they're going to grow up and to be terrible adults. It just is not, that doesn't exist.
Right.
We made the decision because it was easy. For whatever reason, it was easy.
Yeah.
He slept in his own bed.
Yeah.
We didn't have to fight him. But for our own sanity, like our own sleep, like you see, I have plenty of people in my life who did that. They did the 4 people in the bed or the 3 people in the bed. They kicked each other, or the dad or the mom took turns sleeping in the guest room or in the kid's room because the kid was in the bed with mom or dad. And they always complained about their sleep, and they did nothing but complain about it. But that's just the way they lived their life. And then everything turns out fine. So is this conversation that important? I don't know.
So it is from the standpoint of, we use the term kids should make their bed and make your bed. One, because one of my favorite books is Make Your Bed by Admiral McCreary. There we go. And love that book. Love the lessons it teaches. I fail at it sometimes. I try to do it personally myself. But for my kids, the things I do for my kid, that is a thing that, and I adopted this a little bit late too, where some of my older kids got the benefit of me not doing this to them.
And now they're in jail.
And now they're
it's like, oh shit.
Now they're all in jail.
Oh, my older kids are in jail. So
they should have just made their bed.
I figured the younger kids.
Right.
I'm going to start this now so they don't end up in jail.
No, you think about things, and you're like, I would have done this with this one. I'll tell a quick story later about one thing I really wish I did, and I never did with any of them. But because it came to me too late, But what I do that mimics this is we started all the kids do their own laundry. And to the point where it's more work for me sometimes. I will go through, in my house, all the kids' bedrooms are upstairs, and my wife and I's bedrooms downstairs.
And just so we're on the same page here, how many kids are currently in the house?
Right now, there are 3 remaining in the house, and 2 are out on their own.
So you got basically 5 people in the house.
5 people in the house, right? So those 3, the 3 upstairs, they have their own bathroom and stuff up there. And what ends up happening is, the mounds of clothes get piled up in the bathroom, and then every week it'd be like, it's the same conversation over and over again, as we all do with our kids, whatever. But so when those clothes used to come down, it'd be I just throw them in the wash, right? And then, come get your clothes, right? They're washed. Now I separate them and I put them in bins downstairs and I leave them. And then so the clothes in their room, they have to put. So it's more work for me because I go through the process of like bringing the clothes down, separating them out, putting them in their respective bins, like doing all that stuff.
Is that our next podcast, The Art of Laundry?
The Art of Laundry. Because, but at the end of the day, I said to my 14-year-old yesterday, I'm like, hey, bro, you have 2 bins of clothes downstairs. They've been there for 3 weeks. You're not doing another thing until those find their way all the way through and folded and put away, that kind of thing. So that's our make the bed in essence. Now, why do I think make the bed is better? Because, it's a system and it's a daily system. The clothes can go a couple weeks and sit there and then they have to be done. And I love routine systems that teach kids like, okay, just get in a routine. I do this thing and I get in the habit of doing it and there's a benefit to it. And, do kids really value the benefit of getting into a nicely made bed? I don't know. I do. I like when I get in the bed and the sheets are nicely, I love changing the sheets on the bed. The next time you get in the bed, it's like fantastic feeling. But you can't, what your system that you do with your boy, having to make his bed, is better than my system in this way, because I don't think it's teaching one of the components of this podcast, which is healthy and positive. And, I know someone's going to argue the term, how the fuck is making your bed healthy? But it's positive routines.
When this is also, I think it's important that Brian lives in the 5 household. I'm living in the 1 or 2. So when I had the 3 boys at one time, when I was married, I'm not sure I don't really even remember this part of it. I don't think we were. Because also I'm moving into a situation where they aren't my kids. So I didn't parent the same way.
Yep.
So they had a mom and a dad, so it was a little bit more complicated. But it's easier if I'm over parenting, it's easier to do it when you've only got one than it is when there's 5 people in the house. It's just easier. So if you think that you want to implement this, it's just way easier when it's just me and him. We have our mornings, and I think that the key for me, and it's similar. I didn't read that book, but I've heard similar philosophies, and it goes something like, if you want to be organized in your life, you remove some of the chaos from your life, especially the things that you can control.
Yeah.
Always control the things that you can control, and be prepared for the things you can't control. And that's, I think, is a good life lesson. But also, if you want to say, solve problems in the world, or solve problems in a business, or solve problems wherever, the way you learn that is by doing other things that you can solve. Right?
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why we do school. It's part of the reason why we play sports, is so the kids can learn lessons that they can then take out into the world.
Yeah.
So the same thing in my house, where I'm like, all right, here's the space. It's your room. In our case, it's a little loft, but like, here's the space. This is your room. Your job is to keep that clean and organized.
Yep.
And here's how we're going to do it.
Right.
One way we're going to do it is after we're done with our breakfast or whatever it is, you take your shower, you get dressed, you go upstairs, you get dressed. He dresses himself. He's 9, so it's not like unusual that he'd dress himself. Dresses himself, makes his bed, makes sure his room is nice and orderly, comes down, cleans the bathroom from whatever he was doing, brushing his teeth, taking a shower, taking his clothes off in the bathroom, takes care of all of that. Dirty clothes are in the laundry, and that's his routine.
Yep.
And it's something that he is proud of, that routine. And it's just a way, can I get him into that and getting him to understand what, and maybe in the grand scheme of things, that's not important, but it's a micro thing that I can do for him that he can then have that habit for other things. And it's like, if he couldn't do that, then what else is he not going to be capable of?
Well, the other thing I think with all of these, you got to tie it to the component of the billion-dollar industry of decluttering. And there's a lot of research on the concept of decluttering your physical space and the ability that it gives you to declutter your mind.
I mean, do you know
and
people?
systematize your mind.
Do you know people for whom clutter is an issue? Because I do.
Ah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, I do, and it affects the clutter affects them.
Let me list them now.
Well, no, yeah, I don't think we have to talk about names, but like,
no, let's.
I think that the clutter hurts their ability to function.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
so it's like this idea that we're proactive about that. We
Yes.
never let it get to that point.
Yep.
You know, because I know I've dealt with it.
Yep.
Personally.
Well, me too.
Yeah,
So
so
when
I-
I look around and everything's all over the place, my last task every Friday before I sign off and like, all right, I'm done working for the week, right? And want to step into the weekend, my transition task is I organize and clean out my desk and I do my work list for next week. And then if I do that, my mind is so mentally clear to press on for I'm organized for the next week. I'm like good to go. I'm physically organized. I'm mentally organized, and I can like transition out of work.
And it's important for you
Completely.
starting the next day because, like, I just went away for the weekend, and I had an unusual Friday morning. Mm-hmm. Like, I had an appointment that ran really, really late, and it took me away from my preparation, so my home wasn't as clean and wasn't as organized. And I left away for the weekend, come back Sunday night exhausted, went to bed, and woke up, and my house was a disaster. So I couldn't get going on Monday until the house was
Right.
at least somewhat sorted.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'd done my usual routine and Friday of my appointment hadn't run late, then I would have made sure everything, because I try and make sure I leave the house
Right.
pretty clean. So
oh,
this doesn't
everybody
happen.
loves to come home to a
Yeah, exactly. You come back and the
spotless
house is a disaster. You're like, oh my God, how am I
Yeah.
supposed to get
Yep.
moving? And I think that this is like, these are all just little things for my kid that I want him to just understand and appreciate. And the other thing, we talked about this with Shanoon, our executive producer, a little bit.
Shanoon.
but-
Happy 1 year anniversary,
Our
Shanoon.
1 year anniversary. But just this idea that you don't exist in the world alone, and if you are going to have a partner at some point, he is going to at some point have like a significant other, maybe not, but hopefully has a significant other, and she will respect that he's not a slob.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, and that will help him maybe even attract a better.
Nobody says
he'll
that.
attract a better mate.
Nobody's
you know
like,
what I mean?
I love that my spouse is a complete disaster train wreck.
Right.
I love that they throw shit all over the place.
Yeah.
Throw some more shit all over the place. Love it. Makes me super excited.
But I think that it will hopefully prepare him to have a better mate. You know what I mean? Like, and that was something they respect. He doesn't need to be super domesticated if he doesn't want to be, but like this idea that he just has his shit together. You know, and I think that like making the bed is just part of it. And the fact, I really enjoy the fact that he's proud of it.
Right.
It makes me so,
Yeah.
it brings me I couldn't even explain how much joy it brings me when he's proud of that.
Of course.
Because I'm just like, oh my God, it's real freaking like, I'll just bring it up to my ex. Like, your kid is just like, what a great kid he is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then it'll screw up some other areas. But,
Yeah.
but like, you know what I mean? Like, or like he'll freaking like, I was cleaning the bottom of the couch. Underneath the couch is like this pile of lollipop wrappers and lollipop sticks, used lollipop sticks. Because he was, whenever I'm not paying attention, like if I'm in a meeting or something like that, he just runs to the closet, grabs lollipops. And when he's done, he throws them down the sides of the couch.
Nice.
So, you know, I mean, I make him make his bed.
Right.
But I can't get him to do that yet.
Well, that's
I'm
all right.
working
That's a
on
big ask.
one
That's
step
a
at a
big
time.
ask.
But like, I love the fact that he's proud of it, and I think that for him to be able to take pride, like I think these are little wins.
Yeah.
We did podcasts on celebrating the little wins.
Yeah.
You know, celebrate the little wins, and he's gonna, and the wins are what get hardwired into your brain when you're developing, because of the positive feeling that you have from this accomplishment. And that can be a bad thing if you have a good feeling about something that you shouldn't be doing.
Right.
Because you will remember that.
Right.
Because you will want the adulation and you'll want the success. So you'll
Big word.
it's something that you'll hardwire. But if we can hardwire whether you agree that it's an important habit or not, at least it's a good habit. Might not be the most important thing in the world, but like he's bringing that forward. He appreciates it. You know, you look at his bed, he's got his pillows arranged properly and the sheets up. And I mean, believe me, he's taking shortcuts where I can only see this part of the bed and the other half will be a disaster. He's done that before.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, he's done that before. Yeah. Or like the sheet is tucked way down in the bottom of the bed, but he's pulled up the comforter.
Yep.
So he's done those things before, and I've caught him. But now he's pretty good at it now. And it's like it makes him happy, it makes me happy, and we're celebrating the little
That was great.
little wins.
The great systems. I think for our listeners, they can use the worksheet. Just kidding. Just kidding. Give Patrick more work before we release the video.
Put the check sheet on the on his bedroom.
But yeah.
Yeah. Before you leave.
Yeah.
Are your dirty clothes in the hamper?
That's it. So what is the goal here? Kids
Are
should
there
make
any
their bed.
Cheez-Its wrappers on your
right.
desk?
Where are the lollipops hidden?
Yeah, exactly.
Where are all the lollipops hidden? For our listeners, kids should make your bed. What's the purpose here? What we want to do is find things that your kids can do on a daily basis that provides them with systems and they can bring to completion so they can feel accomplished, like you just said, and that teach them how to create order and systems in their life, because all the research shows that creating that kind of order in your life will create mental order. And there's just a huge residual benefit here beyond just the stupid fact of why do I got to try to explain to a 7-year-old why they got to make your bed in terms of just the act of making the bed.
Get back in it, Dad.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get back in it. Just going to get
So
it all
sometimes
ruined again.
we know the reality of these sort of things and how they work. And you can, as your kids get older, you can kind of have these conversations and get them into it. But the reality is we know that systems like this work. We know that creating systems like this for our kids are helpful. So start by making the list of things you think are a benefit and create your systems.
I think there's also a benefit of starting early because there's this sensitive period where they're around 6 or 7-ish, where you still have them in the palm of your hand, where you don't have to explain it yet.
Right.
And if you do it then,
Yeah. Try to do it at 14.
then when they get a little older and they ask you why, then you can explain
Yeah.
it. But if you try it too late, it's just I think there's a big research, and you can do this, and we'll maybe have to look it up at some point. But around puberty, there's all these changes that happen, right? And it's structural, and it's also mental, and it's hormonal, or it's the whole gamut. And they have hardwired so much through that process up until that point, where then the habits become way, way harder to break. And that's hard. That's anything like where you develop a habit. But like there's something about kids' development. I know it was with motor skill development. It's like if you can develop a motor skill before they reach puberty, then that motor skill is going to be a freaking hardwired motor skill.
Right.
As soon as they get into puberty and everything freaking changes, then it just gets way, way harder to develop
harder.
anything. You know, it's the same thing with these habits and anything in their mental skills. Like you want to make sure that you're developing as much as you can. And again, like, can you teach later in life? Freaking course you can. Like, it's stupid to say otherwise. But you've got this opportunity when they're eating out of the palm of your hand and they're freaking doing everything you say without
to
question.
shape patterns.
That's your real opportunity to do this.
Yeah.
And if you miss it, doesn't mean you can't fix it.
You failed.
Exactly. Kids are going to end up in jail like Brian's older kids, which is a shame.
It is a shame.
But he's learned the younger kids are going to get the benefit of that. Yeah, exactly. They're going to be fine. But you do have this, like, again, like if you can do it when they're like 5 or 6 or 7,
Do it.
what a freaking great opportunity. And then when they get in the puberty, they already have it. And then they start asking the questions like they do when they get a little bit older.
Yeah.
Then you can explain this whole thing. Like, look, I'm trying to teach you that if you can keep track of one little thing, and if this isn't a problem, if this isn't interfering with you, then you've just got more opportunity to do what's important.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Your kid should make the bed.
So what are you going to do, Brian?
I think my kids are going to start making their bed. They're psyched. I'm Brian Fauci.
Patrick Marino.
Till next time.
Thank you.